Good morning, students. Welcome to the online teaching session of Academic World School Pemitra. Today, my topic is, you can see it here, planning. And we'll start with this topic. But first see that I'll be touching all these subtopics. That is introduction, that is what is planning, meaning, I'll tell you the meaning. And then finally, I'll be also discussing about the features or characteristics of planning. Let's start with first the introduction. Okay, as you all know that, my dear students, that all organizations, whether it's the government, private or any other institutions, they all have to go through a process of planning. In fact, let me tell you very frankly, that without planning, no organization can ever do anything. Even if we see in nature, planning is everywhere. Without planning, we can't do anything. That means to achieve our objectives, to achieve our goals, to achieve what we want to be, what an organization want to become, everywhere we see a planning. That means before we do any work, we have a goal in our mind, we have a set up goal in our mind, what we want to achieve, what is our objective, and how to go with the objective, how will we reach the objective, how to go with the plans. All this is done through planning. That means first, any organization, anybody has their own objectives, and then how to reach the objectives, how to reach their goals, that is, they do it through a planning. That means they plan how to reach the goals, how to reach their objectives. That is the basic introduction for this particular topic, that is called planning. Okay, now I will go with the second part, that is called meaning and definition. As I already told in the introduction phase, that means planning is defined, or we can tell it as, it's defined as thinking in advance what is to be done, when it is to be done, how it is to be done, and by whom it is to be done. Let's discuss it a little bit more slowly and so that you can understand. Please, when I am going through this lecture, you can just pause sometimes if you think it is, because you have to write in your notebooks, and then I will be giving all the assignments also. So keep a notebook handy also, and sometimes you can pause the video lectures and write those notes, because you have to answer those assignments. Anyway, we are continuing with the meaning and definition. First, the meaning. As I already told, planning is defined as thinking in advance. See, if you want to reach a goal, if you want to reach your objectives, if you want to achieve your objectives, the first thing which you want to do is, you have to think in advance, how can I achieve my objectives? How can I reach my goals? So, it is thinking in advance what is to be done, when it is to be done, how it is to be done, and by whom it is to be done. So actually, in simple words, we can say planning bridges the gap between where we are standing at present and where we actually want to reach. Once again, it bridges the gap between where we are standing at present and where we want to reach. Let's write this thing on the board. Planning is defined as, I already told, planning is defined as thinking in advance. What will you think in advance? Let's try. Thinking in advance, what is to be done, how it is to be done, First is what is to be done, what you want to do, what you want to achieve, how you want to achieve, when it is to be done, and when you want to do it, and by whom it is to be done. By whom it is to be done. So you see that we have just written one of the definitions, and I think you understood this particular definition. Thinking in advance, what is to be done, how it is to be done, when it is to be done, and by whom it is to be done. In simple words, if you want to make it more simple, we can say in simple words we can say planning bridges the gap between where we are standing today and where we want to reach. Just see this simple definition, or in simple words you can see planning bridges the gap. That means where you are standing at the moment and where you want to reach. So it bridges the gap. Of course there is a gap where you are standing and what is your objective, what is your goals. So it bridges the gap between where you are standing today and where we or you can write where we want to reach. Okay, this is, I'm just giving a simple meaning of the word. Now let's give a definition. One more definition. Planning involves setting objectives and deciding in advance the planning involves setting objectives and deciding in advance the appropriate course of action to achieve these objectives. Now let's have a look here once again. Planning involves setting objectives, because without an objective, without a goal, can you think about planning? You plan only to reach a goal, only to when there is an objective in your mind that I have to achieve that thing, I have to achieve that goal, I have to reach that goal. Only then, to achieve that goal, you will make a plan. If there is no goal, no plans, nothing. So planning involves setting objectives. So first you set your objectives and deciding in advance, because When you go and start doing a work, you don't think, you don't plan. Plan is previously. You have to do the planning previously. So deciding in advance the appropriate courses of action. So you need to decide what is the most best and the perfect course of action to achieve that objective, to achieve these objectives. Anyway, I will give, I'll run this part and as per definition, as per Coons and O'Donnell. Coons and O'Donnell. A particular expert talking about planning. What does Coons and O'Donnell say? Planning is deciding in advance. Planning is deciding. Planning is deciding in advance. In advance. Deciding in advance what to do. What to do first, what is to be done or what to do, and who is to do it. Who is to do it? See, I have written planning is deciding in advance what to do, who is to do it. Okay, we can add one more thing. How to do and how to do, that means how to do the thing, and who is to do it. Who is to do it. So the first three things, I still did not finish. First three thing is what to do, what do you want to do, how to do the process, and who is to do it, by whom it is to be done. It bridges the gap. It bridges the gap. It bridges the gap. It bridges the gap where we are to, where we are to, where we are to, and where we want to go, and where we want. Bridges the gap where we are to, bridges the gap from, you just mentioned one from here, from, bridges the gap from where we are to and where we want to go. This is from, remember, this is from, F-R-O-M, from, this is from. Okay, this is from, bridges the gap from where we want, where we are to and where we want to go. It makes, what does it make? It makes it possible, it makes it possible for things to happen. For things to happen. So see, this is definition given as per Coons and O'Donnell. What's the definition? Let me read it out. Planning is deciding in advance. So we are deciding in advance what to do, how to do, and who is to do it. Again, he writes, it bridges the gap from, where we are to where we want to go. Where we are now and where we want to go, that means what we want to achieve. It makes it possible for the things to happen. Okay. Now, we'll go with our third topic. I think you have understood this meaning and definitions. We'll go with the third topic, that is features or characteristics of planning. Features or characteristics of planning. Now, today we have already covered these two, introduction and the meaning and definition. We'll go with the third. Now let's start with the third, that is features or characteristics of planning. First point under the features, planning contributes to objectives. Okay. What is this point telling us? Planning contributes to objectives. See, dear students, as I already told you that before doing any work, you plan it. That means to achieve an objective, to achieve your goals, you do a planning. So, planning starts with the first planning. The word planning starts with determination of objectives. What is your objective? What is your goal? That is most important. And then to reach that goal, to reach that objective, what you do? You do a planning. You do the best of your thoughts. You give the best of your thoughts. You do the best of your planning to achieve those objectives. In fact, what I want to say is, we should know our objectives and goals first. Because, just imagine students, if we don't know our objectives, if we don't know our goals, then what kind of planning are we going to do? Everything is of no use. So first is, you should know your objectives, you should know your goals, you should know what you want to achieve, and then to reach that goal, to reach that objectives, you need to plan. And that is why it is told, planning contributes to objectives. That means to achieve that goal, to achieve that objective, planning will help you up. It involves various methods, ways, etc. to achieve the objectives. So, planning involves various methods, ways, etc. to achieve the objectives. That was the first point. Second, we'll write planning is a primary function. Planning is a primary function. Planning is a primary function. Why do we tell planning as a primary function? Because every manager, whether it is in a factory, organization, or if you take the example in home, just take the example. I just go with the basic example. Just take an example of a home. A mother cooks in the kitchen. She makes a plan. What to cook, when to cook, which vegetables is she going to use today, what time she will start, what is the probable time she can finish up. Let's change and just go for a sports captain, a captain of a sports team. His main target is to win. His main objective is to win. So definitely he has to make a plan. So what I am trying to tell it, what I am trying to explain here is that planning is the primary function of every thing which we want to achieve. That means the first and foremost thing to reach a goal or to achieve a goal or to achieve what we want to do it in a factory or in life, the first thing is planning. So it is called as the primary function of, That means the first thing which you do is to achieve something is plan. Now we go to the third point. Pervasive. Let's first discuss this point. What's the meaning of the word pervasive? Pervasive means it is everywhere. That means there is no place where there is planning. Everywhere there is planning. Just see the nature. Okay, let's move away from the organization, companies, home, sports ground, everything. Just see the nature. A tiger wants to catch hold of its prey. Now, the tiger's goal is to catch the prey and release it to fill its belly. Now, it makes a plan. It hides himself in the bushes and in the nature of ambush attack, and then when he sees any prey coming near to him, he just jumps up and catches hold of it to kill it. You see a bird in the nature. It brings food for its younger ones to feed its younger ones in the nest. It builds a nest. How beautiful the birds build the nest. So what I am trying to explain, what I am trying to make you understand is planning is pervasive. That means the whole nature involves planning. There is nothing where there is no planning. There is no thing in this world where we can tell, okay, that was without a plan. Okay, we may tell it without a plan, but that without a plan was also for a plan. So planning is everywhere. That means, that is why we tell is pervasive means it is everywhere. Everywhere. Or we find planning in all spheres of life. In all spheres of life. I hope you got this point. We go to the fourth one, and the fourth one is planning is futuristic and forward looking. Planning is futuristic and forward looking. Planning is futuristic and forward looking. What does it mean? Just see this point. Planning is futuristic. What is the meaning of future? The time which has not yet come. So planning, have you ever heard that somebody is making planning for the past? The time which has gone? Nobody makes plan for the past. The time which has gone is gone. So we may plan for the future, and that is why it is called as forward looking. It means looking ahead. It means looking ahead. Isn't it, students? That is why we call it as futuristic. That means future is in the haze of uncertainty. We don't know what is happening, what is to happen in the future, but at least we can plan, at least we can make it foolproof so that it happens according to our designs, what we want to achieve. Okay, that is why it means, we call it as it means looking ahead. Managers make predictions. Managers make predictions make predictions. What is a prediction? To tell what will happen in the future. Make predictions for future. Managers make prediction for future, and it is made based on experiences, of the past. Did you understand this? With a very intelligent scanning of the situations or environment. Now let's see and understand this point. I hope you understood, but still, planning is futuristic. That means it is made for future. It means looking ahead, you are looking ahead. Managers make predictions for future. You are making predictions. You cannot concretely tell that it is going to happen. You make a prediction, you make your calculations, and you make a foolproof plan. That is, again the plan comes. You make a foolproof plan for future, and it is made based on experiences. As I already told you, that planning is never done for the past. Have you ever heard? You have never heard that planning is made for the past. Past is past. We make plans for the coming time, so that it goes according to what we have thought. So, based on past experience of the past, with a very intelligent scanning, you scan the things with an intelligent scanning of the situations or environment. That means based on your experiences of the past. What happened on the past, you have noted it down, you know that what has happened, and then based on that experience, you are making your planning. Okay, we go to the next point, that is number 5 it is. Already we have discussed number 4. So we go with number 5. We go with point number 5. Okay. That is, planning is continuous. Planning is continuous. Planning is continuous. Do you think that you can stop planning? Have you ever come across that a certain group of companies or organization has stopped planning? Stop totally. No. Planning is a continuous process, because if you stop planning, then the whole thing goes astray. Here astray means zero. Because the environment, business environment, is very difficult to predict. What you planned 6 months before, 8 months before, 1 year before, that may not happen exactly on that date, because there are many such things like economic changes, political changes, legal changes happening. So you cannot exactly plan. So you cannot tell that, okay, I have planned 1 year before, now I'll just sleep, I have no work to do. No. Planning is continuous, because you have to continuously assess the environment, assess the situations, know the situations, and accordingly you have to make your changes. Okay, broadly you have planned, fine, but you have to make the changes according to the need of the situations. I think you got this point. Next is, we go with number 6, planning. Planning involves decision making. Planning involves decision making. Planning involves decision making. Let's discuss on this. Planning involves decision making. See, in planning, when we do a planning, we take a decision. Suppose we are going on a hiking to a mountain. Just take an example. We are going on a hiking to a mountain, and the team leader has planned that early morning he will start with his team from the base camp. But he has taken his decision. But early morning there was a strong storm of snow. We call it as a blizzard. So they could not start, although the decision was taken. See, it involved decision making. Decision was taken. So he has to change his decision. So decision goes on changing, and planning involves a decision making. But that means what I am trying to tell, what I am trying to explain is here, there are alternatives which helps to achieve your goals. Suppose there is a goal you have to set up. You have already set up your goals, and there through plan you have to make a alternative. This alternative, this alternative, this alternative. That means if one does not come, or I cannot select one, this one, I have to select another one. But I have to reach the goal. To reach the goal is very important. But which alternative are you going to select? Which decision are you going to hold on to? That depends. So we call it as planning involves decision making. You have to make a concrete decision, and you have to stick to that decision to achieve your goal. And all this comes under planning. And finally, we go to last point under this is planning. Planning is a mental exercise. Planning is a mental exercise. Planning is a mental exercise. Try to understand this point. Why is planning called a mental exercise? See, whatever you plan, whatever you think, that will always be from your mind. That is always in your mind. So, it is always a mental exercise which requires high thinking, because to achieve something you need high thinking. And here assumptions and predictions are made, and assumptions and predictions are made. Assumptions and predictions are made for the future, by scanning the environment, by scanning the environment. It requires high level of intelligence. High level of intelligence, and collectively done by a group of people to achieve a goal. So, see, now I am just going through this point. It requires, what's the point is, planning is a mental exercise. It requires high thinking, calculative thinking, critical thinking, but high thinking. Here, it requires high thinking. Here, then you start the next sentence. Here, assumptions and predictions are made for future. You are making predictions for future by scanning the environment. What you are doing? You are seeing the situations, what is happening around us, and accordingly we are taking our decisions or the plans. We are making the plans. It requires high level of intelligence and collectively done by a group of people to achieve a goal or an objective. That is why planning is called as a mental exercise. That is why planning is called as a mental exercise, because it involves a lot of thinking, calculations, thoughts, etc. Dear students, I have just come to the end of this particular lecture, and I will be also giving you some of the assignments which will be uploaded on the ERP. So go through this video lecture properly, make your notes which will help you in answering those assignments. Thank you very much. Good day.